How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about Lucid, which had quite the pullback inside of the market. Ended up closing at $23.73. We ended up making a push above 26, but of course it ended up getting rejected. We talked about how this is a resistance area. And plus on top of that, we talked about how $25 is a key area of support. And the moment it breaks through it, then we could see some weakness. And that's exactly what we got today. We'll talk about it further in this video. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder, you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is a technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in the bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information. The reason why this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we're going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for Lucid. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $23.73, being down 5.87%. On the low, it tested $23.65, and then on the high, testing $26.16. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 21.077 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 19.903 million shares. So you can see we did have above average volume on the day, but we've seen some weakness in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it's at 43.19. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 100-day, the 200-day, the 50-day, and as well as the 21-day EMA. So Lucid continues to be in a downtrend. It is trading below all of our major moving averages, and we also have the death cross with the 50-day crossing over the 200-day. So just taking everything into consideration, remember what I said in the previous video about Lucid, that if we see weakness in the market, it could pull back quite a bit. And when you're seeing strength in the market and it's barely moving, this is not a good sign for the stock price as far as for the short term. So when it started pulling back and it got to as low as $23.65, this is something you shouldn't be surprised about. Let's be honest here. But it did have a strong spike right at the open, getting to $26.16. So it met some resistance right here around the 50-day. It is at 26.26. So if we were able to actually get past this level, then Lucid could have potentially made a move going to $27. But since that did not happen and we ended up getting a strong rejection and testing 23.65, if this pullback does continue, then I'd want to see if we could hold up around 22.50. We talked about how key this level was. So if it gets down to 22.50 and there's continued selling pressure, that's where we could see Lucid start trading in the $20 range. I know many of you are keeping an eye on this level because I know you want to make sure that you're getting some cheap shares. We also have to take into consideration of the fact if you're looking for a reversal, Lucid's going to have to get back above the high of the day, which is at 26.16. If it is able to do this, that's where I want to look forward to seeing we can make that move going to 27.50, which I've talked about many times on this channel. So it'll be very interesting to see what it does going into tomorrow, but if it could hold up the $25 level, it could definitely set itself up well for April. But again, I'm going to be talking about later on in the video some factors you're going to want to know as far as for Wednesday. So let's go on to the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for Lucid. As we scroll down further on the page, green rows indicate new positions, while red rows indicate closed positions. So when we take a look at our recent filings here, we have for April the 4th, we have Advocacy Wealth Management Services LLC that purchased 690 shares. And I think we actually went over that yesterday. But as far as for other filings, we don't have any new or closed positions for the 5th. We just have some positions that have been updated. So we have a value change for Subsequent that went in with calls and as well as puts and have increased value of 68.28% and as well as 75.66%. And we also do see as well as far as for a share position being at just over 9,612%. So that is really good to see. And then when we take a look at our short interest, The off-exchange short volume ratio is at 53.32%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 3.81 million shares. Scrolling down further on the page, the short shares availability is at 250,000, updated 16 minutes ago, and then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 5.52%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, you can see for the close of the first, it was at 59.89, and then for the close of the fourth, being at 53.32. So one thing that is clear, Lucid does continue to have short squeeze potential. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for Lucid. So we can see on the inflow, it was 71.31 million, and then on the outflow, it was 99.22 million. So it was an outflow day. Taking a look at the breakdown, on the large, it was 0. On the medium, it was 46.63, and then on the small, it was 24.68. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large it was 6.23, on the medium it was 66.63, and then on the small it was 26.36. Taking a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see for today, April the 5th, it being that outflow of 6.23 million. And if we take a look at the past 5 trading days, they've all been outflow days. So again, heavy selling happening. And then when we analyze the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tends to represent the retail side, we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at the large, which represents whales, institutions, and funds, we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 1.28%. So this continues to be a consistent range for Lucid. So shares are not as liquid. We're not seeing a ton of traders inside of the play. No surprises. Since we did see a weakness inside of the market, the most of what you're going to be seeing is selling pressure. And we've been seeing a continuation of this for the past 5 trading days when it comes to whales and so forth. We'll talk about it further inside of the final thoughts. So let's get into it right now. So for my final thoughts for Lucid, when it comes to the price action, it needs to come back to $25. If we continue to see some weakness in the stock going into tomorrow, it can get down to $22.50. And the moment it breaks through $22.50, that's where it can visit the $20 range. If you're looking for a bullish reversal, then you want to see some price action above the 50-day, which is at $26.26. Because if it's able to reclaim this level and there's a lot of buyers stepping in, that's where I can see that move going to $27.50, and then we could see where it could go from there. But as long as we have volatility in these markets, and on the Wednesday, which is going to be tomorrow, we have the Fed minutes that are going to be coming out. And if it looks hawkish, that's why I'm saying Lucid could easily pull back and start going to the $20 range. But if the results of the Fed minute is what the market is expecting, then I'm looking forward to seeing stocks run up. And Lucid will be one of those plays that you want to keep a very close eye on due to the fact that it is in the NASDAQ 100. Also, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership, we could see institutions have been loading up on shares, plus on top of that, there's a lot of hedging that is going on. No surprises there. And then when we take a look at the short interest information, it does continue to have short squeeze potential, but it needs a lot more buying volume coming into the play. We have seen that the EV sector has been getting a lot of attention, and as far as Lucid is concerned, when we've been having those big green days, it is barely moving. But when we have those red days, that's where we have those major pullbacks. And this is one thing that we have to understand and take into consideration. The market is viewing Lucid differently, and there's no surprises due to the fact that it is a growth stock and they have a lot of challenges with the sector that they're in. We talked about these challenges already, so I don't want to sound like a broken record. So with that said, if you are a long-term investor, I would continue to keep an eye on this play. And of course, if you have high conviction after doing your homework and as well as your due diligence, you're going to be loading up on more shares while the stock is dipping. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll be talking real soon.